And welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shaped the game. I'm Dean Gemmel, and before we get started, a mea culpa of sorts from me. A few weeks ago, I started mentioning a support the show button that was added to www.thecurlingshow.com with a plan to announce the names of people who made donations. The idea was to do something along the lines of the Pledge Weeks they do at National Public Radio here in the United States. But then, after undertaking this effort myself, I remembered that I've always loathed the Pledge Weeks on National Public Radio, and I didn't really want to do it myself. So, with apologies to people who have donated, I'm going to stop both reading names and urging people to click on the Support the Show button. I'll keep it on the website, but I'm not going to be mentioning it anymore. Now on to this edition, featuring a guest who's either the People's Choice selection or the online mouth of Manitoba. The winner of the Curling Zone picked the next Curling Show guest poll, Pat McCallum. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Dean. How are you?
Well, Pat, they always say democracy is messy, so apart from you voting for yourself a number of times, why do you think you were the People's Choice to be on the show?
Actually, I voted for Don Walchuk, so I'm not totally sure how that came about, but maybe there's Scott Pfeiffer out there in Europe with about 25 computers voting for me. I have no idea.
Hey, Pat, now I don't know you really well. We met once in Winnipeg, I think, but otherwise I really only know you from your posts on CurlingZone.com and seeing you play a little bit over the years, but you seem to be a guy who has an opinion on everything, whether it's rumors about team shuffles or someone's abilities. What's in your personality that drives you to weigh in on everything?
A lot of my friends have said the same thing over the years. I've kind of been more out of it now. Living in Winnipeg, I haven't curled as much. You know, I used to curl probably 150 games a year, and last year I think I curled about 50. But a lot of my closest friends have either won the Brier, won the Worlds, or been to the Brier. So, you know, I stay networked, and, you know, I talk to Steve Gould all the time, and he's always probing for information. And I talk to Randy Furby, you know, probably, you know, a lot more than I talk to my parents. So I stay involved, and I hear different things, and it kind of makes me angry when I see stuff on the Curling Zone that I know darn well isn't right, so I feel impelled to make my opinion known.
So you want to weigh in and clear things up factually, is your opinion, is that right?
Factually or fictionally, I'm not totally sure, but
yeah.
Usually I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I like to set facts straight or how I really had felt that they should be.
You talked a little bit about not curling as much in Winnipeg. What happened to your team last year with Sean Grassi?
Well, Sean, I think, is going to be a winner. Sean is probably going to win the provincial championship in the men's one day. He is a former junior champion. I enjoyed curling with him, and there was a couple personality conflicts on the team with, you know, it's not like I've never had those before, but there was our third, him and I kind of didn't see eye to eye on a lot of the strategy issues and what I felt should be on a team concept. I tried to adopt a lot of the stuff that Randy Furby had taught me over the years. I mean, I curled, you know, the better part of 8 years with the guy. And Sean was willing to listen, and our lead, Tyler Specula, he was an awesome guy. We'd won most of our Super League games. And we just decided that wasn't going to work, and we brought in Dave Bomer, and we won the Super League.
But you brought in Bomer for the Super League, but you didn't. But then who do you go in playdowns with? Or you didn't go in playdowns?
Well, we did try playdowns. We went back to our old third. His name was Scott Madams.
Okay.
No ill feelings towards the guy. I think he's got a new team this year, from what I see. Right,
with Doug Harrison and Corey Naharney.
Yeah, yeah, they're ranked pretty high up in the standings. I guess we'll see how long that lasts. But you know, there wasn't. You know, we had a good team to start with. We finished the semifinals of the Asham Open to start with, and you know, I don't think everybody was on the same page, so it didn't work. But as it turned out, Dave Bomer came in, and he was an awesome addition to our Super League team, and we managed beating Reed Carruthers in the final, and we won the Super League.
Which is a pretty tough Super League, the Winnipeg Super League.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jeff Stoughton wasn't in there, and Kerry Burtnick wasn't in there, but I mean, anybody...
Okay, Pat, compare the Winnipeg Super League to Brandon.
I think I did that on the Curling Zone one time. Well, the Brandon Super League, I'm sure, is a pretty well, you know, there's a lot of good curlers out there. I mean, the Liburns are good curlers, and Scott Ramsey and a few other guys that I know are good players, Graham Freeman. But I would imagine that the Winnipeg Super League has probably got a little bit more depth.
Sure. Hey, you have an entry on Wikipedia that chronicles your curling career, and you played with all kinds of great players over the years, like you mentioned. Everything, you were with Randy. You mentioned that you actually brought in Carter and Scott to spare, and then ended up, they ended up playing with Randy, of course. Is there anything over the years, you said you played with all these great players, the Park brothers, you had a lot of history with them. I got to ask you about that in a minute, but playing with all these great players, is there anything over the years you wish you hadn't said?
Well, I wish I would have been a lot nicer to Dave Nedohin, that's for sure. Him and I played a full year together in 97, 98, and we won the Super League together. And, I really didn't see Dave Nedohin being, where he's at right now. I mean, I had played with Kevin Park and Al Hackner and some of these other guys that were, really accomplished players. Dave is, he was a workhorse, and I think that's what drove him ultimately to be the champion that he's become. He ended up marrying Heather Godberson, who was Heather Nedohin. I think she was a real integral part of him becoming who Dave is now today. And at the time, I knew Dave was pretty good, but I wish I hadn't said or done some of the things I did with him. And, I certainly don't wish ill on those guys. That I was there to support them. Every time they won something, I was there at the airport, or I went to a team party. And, I was proud of the fact that I was actually one of the Dave Nedohin original members. But yeah, I guess I would have acted sort of different towards Dave. The year and a half I did play with him.
That was fascinating, actually. So you didn't see the raw talent in Dave. You think he sort of built his game with a lot of dedication and hard work?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about 1998 or 1997, I guess. And you qualified for the Olympic trials with Doran Johnson and Kevin Park. I think the team was maybe number 2 on the old money list at the time, but the team famously dumped Doran before the event. I believe you didn't play in the trials either. What went on?
Well, that was one of those old sayings where nobody on the team could handle success. Doran, who won lots with different players. I mean, he always managed to qualify in spiels no matter who he had. He could take some guy off a square draw in the C section at a curling club, get him out to play second or lead, and finish in the semifinals of a major cash spiel. That's the kind of guy he was. But we had won 2 or 3 events, and we went up to Hay River. We picked our spots. We didn't go into all the real tough ones, but we managed to build up our money. And the funny part at that time is Kevin and I weren't playing with Doran. We were playing with a guy named Les Rogers and Ken Trollenberg. But Les and Kevin didn't see eye to eye, and I didn't see eye to eye with Les. And, of course, Les, I don't know if you've heard of recent, Les had won the Canadian Seniors, and his whole team dumped him and picked up Pat Ryan. So Les, that back then we weren't getting along with him, so we thought Doran Johnson might be the answer. And, we had a whole bunch of success, and then, everybody wanted to do different things, and Don Walchuk and, actually that was the year I think Don Walchuk and Randy Ferbey were playing with Kevin Martin. And Randy Ferbey had left Kevin Martin partway through that year after winning $50,000 after about 2 months. So I was lobbying to see if we could get Randy Ferbey to come play with us. So there was, it was political. It was, everybody was trying to go different ways, and it wasn't a team concept, and it just wasn't a team.
So refresh my memory. Who ended up playing in the Olympic trials?
Well, I think, as it turned out, Les Rogers came back, and there was a fellow named Jerry Seaman, and, both of them had come to Kevin and promised this grandiose sponsorship, and $50,000 numbers were thrown out there, and as it turned out, nobody got anything, and I think they went 1-10 at the trials.
That's you're at the heart of a lot of drama. The other thing you've done is played a lot with the Park brothers, the battling Park brothers. What's your best battling Park brothers story?
Well, we were in North Battleford one time, and we lost 3 qualifiers. It was myself, Scott, Kevin, and Kerry. And Shane, I think, was off with Merv Bodnerchuk doing his thing at that time. So we lost the last qualifiers late Sunday night, so we couldn't go home to Edmonton, so we ended up staying in the hotel, and there was some drinking done and some things that, only brothers can say to each other done. And so it was an interesting ride home. So we got to about Lloydminster, and there was some arguing about what type of shots we should have played. I mean, curling was the subject, when I was around the parks, no matter what time of year it was. But, especially after a 3 qualifier spiel, there was lots to be said in that car. And so I think Scott had, poked Kevin a couple times, and he says, "You poke me one more time, I'm going to drop you." So he poked him again, and all of a sudden the fight was on, and we were rolling out in the ditch, and Kerry and I sat and watched for a while, and they got back in, and away we went, back to Edmonton.
So inside the car, they started fighting.
Yeah, so we pulled over and let it proceed, and then away we went.
Hey, Kevin Park's a guy who's admitted that he had a fondness for the post-game celebrations of curling, maybe too much. He said that in interviews. How great curler has he been, or could have been, if maybe he was a little more focused?
Kevin Park was bar none the best curler I've ever played with. No question about it. Kevin Martin might tell you the same thing. I know Don Bartlett will. Talent-wise, the guy had it all. Drinking might have cost him a little bit. He self-proclaims that he had actually quit Kevin Martin's team, and it wasn't vice versa. But Kevin Park, we were in some amazing games over the years where he, I think one time, for example, the times Kevin wasn't drinking for sure, we were in Brandon, and I was with Dale Duguid and Scott Park, and it was in 2003. I think we were down 5-1 or 6-2 or something in the C qualifier to Glenn Howard. And then Kevin just caught fire, and he absolutely made everything off the wing, draws to the button. He was amazing, and we ended up winning the game in the extra end. So, he pulled some real rabbits out of his hat over the years, when I was with him.
Yeah, I know he's the curler's choice among a lot of people as the best pure thrower, but, a lot of people outside of Alberta haven't seen a whole ton of him over the years. Hey, you've admitted some of the things maybe that you did with team chemistry that didn't work so well. I have a lot of junior listeners on the show. With the benefit of hindsight, what would you tell them in order to make team chemistry work?
Well, I think everybody for sure has to be on the same page. Randy Furby instilled a fact in his team that he's got now. There's a book called Pat Riley, The Winner Within, and it basically talks about team chemistry and off-ice stuff that teams should do with each other. Basically your best friends out there, and that's the way it's to be successful. You have to do that. If you have one guy bucking the system or not wanting to practice or not believing in the way the game should be called out there, then you've got to make a change. And for sure, you have to all buy into a team concept. And if you have one guy not buying into it, it's probably not going to work.
All right, Pat, you're always quick with opinions, so give me your thought right now on the best team in the game. If we were going to say right now, who's the best team?
Well, obviously that's an easy one. Glenn Howard. Those guys are good friends off the ice. They don't have the 4 best curlers out there. If I wanted to pick 4 best curlers, I can give you that one too. But as far as the team goes, I think right now Glenn Howard, by far, those guys enjoy winning together. Winning breeds confidence. Winning also breeds great friendships in each other, and they're making a lot of money, having a lot of fun, and Glenn Howard's my pick here for another year or two to come, I think.
Hey, the other thing a lot of people we've talked about a bit on this show, and I get a lot of emails about, is the gulf between super elite and merely elite teams. It seems to have widened maybe since you were playing a little more regularly. My opinion is that's a natural evolution of the game and a good part of the sport, but I do think there's a concern that we don't have enough things for teams that aren't quite at the Kevin Martin, Jeff Stout, and Glenn Howard level to play in. What's your take on that?
Well, the difference between those teams right now are obviously first, it's sponsorship money. It costs a lot of money and financial commitment to play the game. So Kevin Martin and Jeff Stoughton and Randy Furby and Glenn Howard, these guys, Brad Gushu even, I don't put him in that class at this point, but...
Well, he's got to be in there, though, I think.
Well, he's got a lot of time to play, but the top teams, what they do is they've got time. As far as their jobs go, most of them have their own businesses or they're not working, period.
Don't you think, though, I get that a lot. I think it's a little bit sour grapes at some point because these guys have more talent than anybody, too.
Well, they do, and that's why they made the decision to go the direction they've gone. Randy Furby, if they weren't winning as much, I don't think those guys they'd be concentrating on a career probably more, but they see that they're able to make money with what they're doing. They probably get over $200,000 in sponsorship money, so really it's making it worthwhile for them. But my opinion for sure is the top teams like the Howards, Furby, Martin, Stoughton, Madaw even, those guys have chosen the path to not take a career where it's a 9-to-5 job where they've got to be there, and they've also got a lot of sponsorship money, and that makes all the difference in the world.
Well, I think the other teams have to sort of think that, if you're a pro golfer, you don't expect to win all the time, and a lot of these teams think, well, we need more parity among winning teams. I think teams have to be happy if they qualify in a big event.
Well, this weekend I noticed Randy Ferbey didn't qualify in his event in Europe, and Kevin Martin didn't qualify out in the West. So
exactly, a couple big upsets. Kevin Martin losing to Greg McCauley, and Jason Larway beating Jeff Stoughton. Probably the most shocking upset of the season so far, I think.
Yeah, I would imagine Jeff's probably not real happy coming back to Winnipeg with just qualifying. But I think you'll see more. I mean, as time progresses, it looks like more teams are working at it a little more. There's a team here, some of the people might know or might not know, is Reed Carruthers.
Sure, Reed's been on the show.
Yeah, they work at their game. Those guys practice. They all are on the same page, and they're not superstars yet, but they're working towards that, and they all have a common goal, and you're not going to see Kevin Martin and Wayne Middaugh in the limelight, forever.
Right.
Although curling is a game where, you can be 50, like Russ Howard, and still, play at a pretty elite level if you're playing back end.
Reed and his team remind me of Pat Simmons just a few years ago, where they're starting to qualify in just about everything they play in.
Yeah, no, Reed, they got a good mind for the game. I think Pat's team, those guys, it was a confidence thing. It'll be the same thing for Reed. Once they get in some bigger events and they have some success against some of the bigger teams, all of a sudden, hey, we can do this. Maybe let's put a little bit more into it and see how far it'll take us.
All right, Pat, we end with the run back. I give you a topic and you give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words. Can you do 1 to 3 words?
Sure.
All right, a lot of people in here, too, I got for you. Dale Duguid.
3 words to describe the Dale Duguid.
Yeah.
Very passionate.
Rudy Ramcharan.
Best friend in the world.
Really? You and Rudy are friends?
Yeah,
great. Did he just
guy.
What happened there? What went on? Because I've never really...
Oh, with the Rudy thing? Well,
yeah.
He had
what happened with the Rudy Spielgate?
Rudy was trying to be too big too fast, and he had great intentions with what was going on. There was a little bit of dishonesty towards the end. Rudy certainly didn't pocket any money out of the deal. I do know that, but there was some miscommunication, and there was some, he wanted to have this feel where somebody was going to win all this money, and the venue cost him a lot of money. He had to rely on his family and some friends, maybe in Bruce Saville, to help bail him out. But the curlers never got paid, is what happened.
So, but in the end, you think he was really a victim of dreaming too big?
Absolutely, and everybody made rumors of Rudy pocketing all this money and walking away. Rudy lost a lot, including a lot of friends. But
he didn't. It really cost him dearly. I mean, he's back curling again, though, I guess, right?
He curls a little bit. I guess he's got bad knees, and his back's bad. And I think Rudy's about 43 now, so he says he's not really that interested. He's had his 15 minutes, I guess, or whatever, and winning the Brier in 1997, and I guess that's good enough for him.
All right, Mike Harris.
Rock Rider.
You and the Rock Rider with Mike Harris.
Or Family Guy.
Or Family Guy? Oh, from the Family Guy. Well, what about his talents? I do think he's a great analyst myself, but
he's very good. You know what? I've played him a few times over the years, and I certainly don't have a bad thing to say about Mike Harris. I mean, I don't know him well enough, but I've played him enough times over the years where we know each other, and I have a lot of respect for Mike. Absolutely, he's a great color commentator.
Carter Rycroft.
Great player.
Women's curling.
Don't watch it.
8N games.
Rather have 10.
And this year's Valor Road Open.
Was a success.
Okay. Did you play in it?
I didn't, no, but I followed it on the internet, and I know some guys that were in it, and it looked like it went over really well.
So are you still looking for a team this year?
I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to practice with Steve Gould and John Meade a bit. They both have expressed interest of bringing me out, and they want to take my loony there, at lunchtime, and I'm certainly more to oblige them, and I can probably look in my loony jar and maybe dig out a few and try and lose it to them on my lunchtimes. But no, I'd like to try and make sure I stay in shape, and I know how curling works. Every year there's always something that happens, or somebody needs a person for a weekend, and if they see me still out there, I don't want to lose my edge. So I haven't given up the dream of playing in the Brier. I definitely haven't, and still plan on playing in it one day.
All right, Pat. Well, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate your time. Good luck this season with whatever comes your way, and we'll keep looking for your opinions.
Okay, and we'll see you at the Briardine probably in March.
Yeah, I hope so. I am trying to figure out if I can make that happen.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to be playing in it, mind you.
No, I'll be an American, probably not, but
No.
hopefully we'll see you there, or maybe down at the Worlds in Grand Forks, possibly in April.
Yep. All right, Pat. Thanks again.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dean.
That's Pat McCallum on The Curling Show. As always, thanks for listening. Here's the pudding.
Salt blast screaming, Jim beaming, no two grains of sand are alike. Sow the seed, reap the speed, angel's wing on a Chinese kite, yeah!